Hello.
Oh, hey,
Way over
there you
here.
are.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for being here. You certainly probably have the funnest job in the room.
I agree.
And it's certainly exciting what's going on in space right now. Not only is it exciting, it's necessary and noble the work that's being done. NASA certainly is part of our national heritage, and what's going on is necessary. This renewed space race is certainly essential, not only from the exploratory side of science and those kind of things, but from the national security standpoint, when we see China and all they're doing to take the high ground, and in an information economy, who controls space controls the information, and it's just essential, of course, that we continue to lead in that front. My question has to do with you inherited, if you talk to GAO, or the Government Accountability Office, sorry, I got that backwards, GAO, they have NASA on the high risk for waste, and have actually downgraded them. Now, this is what you walked into. I'm wondering what we're doing, because as we prioritize how important it is to spend the certain levels of money, I think it's just as important that we prioritize the efficiencies. Can you speak to what NASA's doing to create efficiencies, and especially, you know, in the sense of being more efficient than China and in winning the space race, the new space race?
Absolutely. So you're absolutely right. The GAO high-risk list has NASA on it, and yes, we have been downgraded. So the reason we're there is because we have not been good at maintaining schedule, and we have not been good at maintaining cost. Now, there's a number of reasons for that, and I think people on this committee are well aware. What we do is unique. It's unlike anything that any other agency does. We build things that have never existed before, and we have to invent things to make our products work, things that are really, quite frankly, astonishing and stunning. So I'm not making any kind of excuse. We need to be much better at making determinations as to the cost of what we're going to build and the schedule of what we're going to build. Part of that requires us to ultimately not be so aggressive in what we say we can achieve. We need to make sure that we have margin built into our schedules and into our costs, as a matter of fact. NASA is very ambitious as an agency. It's a culture that, in fact, it's a kind of a good thing. Everybody wants to work really hard to achieve just amazing and astonishing things and do it yesterday. But sometimes we need to be more realistic, and that's part of what we're trying to get fixed. When we have schedule delays, whether it's commercial crew or SLS or exploration upper stage, whatever the case might be, those delays ultimately it puts us as an agency at risk, and it encourages congressmen to ask questions that we don't like to answer. So we've got to get better at making those assessments, and we're working on that.
I think of, for example, there's an Israeli space company landing, or that in the next few weeks we think will land on the moon, the first commercial company. What's going on in the commercial industry? Can you speak to ways that NASA's partnering with it? Maybe
absolutely.
Is that one way to save money? And also, for example, the X Prize. I mean, that Israeli company is motivated by an X Prize. Is NASA doing that kind of thing when it comes to contracting to maybe take the burden of research off some of these things and put it in the innovators?
Yes. Here's the challenge. Sometimes the companies have an incentive to overstate what they can achieve as well, because they're all trying to win contracts in that particular case. So we have to be careful about, in other words, we as an agency not only need to be good at managing our own programs, but we have to be really good buyers. We have to be smart buyers. And in fact, I would argue that it could be said that as we have turned more to commercial industry to provide capability, we have lost, in some cases, the intellectual capital necessary to be a smart buyer. So on one hand, yes, you're right, we can outsource some of those challenges. On the other hand, we still have to meet schedule and we still have to meet cost. And we can't rely on somebody else to tell us what that schedule and cost is, because sometimes they're not right either, and then we're held accountable for it. So we have to be careful with how we go about that in the future. But the X Prize, you mentioned Space IL. We are partnering with Space IL, which is that little Israeli company. They're going to be landing something on the moon for $95 million worth of investment, which is a radical change in cost for anything that's ever landed on the moon previously. NASA is a partner with them on an instrument that's on that vehicle. We are also providing our deep space network to support them with communications, which is unique to us. So we're a partner with them. We're proud of that. And we have our own program domestically for commercial lunar payload services where we have already signed up 9 companies that we have assessed are able to deliver small payloads to the surface of the moon. And we're looking forward to, in fact, we have already put out the first task order, and we're looking forward to seeing what industry is going to be willing to provide from a domestic perspective as far as landing small payloads on the surface of the moon. All of these things are critical capabilities, and in some cases they help us with the GAO high-risk report. In other cases, it could actually put us in more risk, but we have to be more careful about how we go about telling you and others about our schedule. As much as we want to tell everybody we're going to get there yesterday, we need to be really careful about that.